The handcuffs were cold, but the chill that truly settled into my bones was the realization of how quickly my life had fractured. One moment I was leaving my shift at the community kitchen, tired but satisfied, saving every spare dollar for culinary school. The next, I was framed against the siren's blue light, the subject of a crime I hadn't even witnessed. All the quiet, grinding work I had done to build a clean life vanished in a flash of unwarranted suspicion. The charge was robbery. A pawnshop owner, Mr. Patel, had been hit shortly after closing. The police had found a discarded work glove, damp with rain, a block away, and a witness had described a black man wearing dark clothing running from the scene. Walking home in my black chef's pants and jacket, 3 blocks from the pawnshop, I was the only person fitting that vague description the patrol car encountered. My dark skin and dark clothes were all the evidence they needed for the initial stop. In the sterile, windowless interrogation room, I felt the weight of the city pressing down on me. I explained my alibi, my job, the time clock that recorded my punch-out at 7:55 p.m., my manager who could vouch for me. I offered names and numbers, but the detective, Detective Miller, merely leaned back, sighing. "The manager can say you left at 7:55, Michael, but he can't say where you were at 8:15, Miller said, tapping a pen. "That pawn shop is 2 minutes away by car, maybe 7 running, and the rain complicates everything. Why no phone? Can't track a burner, can we?" His tone was dismissive, treating my explanation of saving money for a basic smartphone as an elaborate deception. Then came the photograph. "We found this in the alley," the detective said, sliding a silver, heart-shaped locket across the table. It was ornate, clearly antique, and glittered even in the harsh fluorescent light. "Mr. Patel says it was on display. Valuable, distinct. Did you see it, Michael? Did you handle it?" I shook my head, my throat tight with rising panic. "I work at the kitchen. I haven't stepped foot in that alley or that shop. I wouldn't even know what to do with a locket like that." The detective was unmoved, already moving on to the human element. "A witness saw a man matching your build running past Mrs. Hadley's porch on Willow Street, just after the alarm. You know Mrs. Hadley? 75 years old, sharp as a tack, pillar of the neighborhood." I knew Mrs. Hadley. Everyone in that quiet stretch of the neighborhood knew her. She sat on her porch swing every evening, a rigid, silent observer of the block, the neighborhood's self-appointed, unimpeachable surveillance system. The police tracked down Mrs. Hadley. She was presented as the star witness, a figure of reliability and community trust. The first time I saw her in court, the entire room seemed to lean forward in anticipation. She was a study in severe elegance, silver hair meticulously pinned, a stiff tweed suit, and an expression of stony, unreadable disapproval that seemed directed straight at me. When she spoke, her voice was precise, slow, and devastating, lending an air of absolute certainty to her confused memory. "Yes, I saw him," Mrs. Hadley testified, her gaze sweeping past me as if I were an unpleasant fixture, not a human being. "It was after 8, just when the rain began. A young man, dark, running very fast, head tucked down. He was near my hydrangeas. He dropped something." The prosecution, seizing on this, presented the locket as the missing puzzle piece. They argued that the locket had been dropped by the suspect as he fled past Mrs. Hadley's property, a clear and physical link between me and the crime. This small, shimmering object became the undeniable focal point of the state's case. My public defender, juggling too many cases to afford true diligence, fought back, but his exhaustion showed. "Did you get a clear look at the man's face, Mrs. Hadley? Was it definitely this man, Mr. Henderson?" Mrs. Hadley paused, adjusting the cuff of her jacket with a deliberate gesture of superiority. "I only saw him for a moment, but I saw him running, and I saw him drop the item." "And what was that item?" the attorney pressed. "It was a silver trinket, small. I remember because I had just finished pruning those hydrangeas, and I saw something flash on the sidewalk as the rain started. It caught the light. It was shiny." My defense was circumstantial and based on character. The prosecution had a clear, if shaky, physical link, the locket, bolstered by the unwavering testimony of a respected elderly woman. I was denied bail, detained, and left to watch my future crumble while awaiting trial. The real tragedy, the core of the injustice, was that Mrs. Hadley knew the truth and simply didn't care to tell it. I wasn't the man she saw drop the locket. The man she saw was smaller, skinnier, wearing a light gray hoodie and, crucially, he was carrying a large, brightly colored backpack. The man she saw was a young, white teenager named Ethan who lived 2 streets over, known locally for petty theft. Mrs. Hadley had seen the whole sequence. She had watched the teenager drop the silver heart. She had watched him frantically pat his pockets, decide against retrieving it, and disappear into the deluge. Then, 5 minutes later, she had seen me. I was walking steadily, not running, head down against the downpour, my black chef's clothing making me blend into the shadows. When the police arrived, she was already biased by the initial shock of the robbery. They only asked, "Did you see a black man running by here?" A question that perfectly married her latent prejudices with the crime report. She hadn't seen me running, but she had seen a black man. She had also seen the actual suspect, Ethan, but the police hadn't asked about him. Mrs. Hadley, operating from a place of deep, unexamined bias, had synthesized the 2 events into one convenient, accusatory narrative. The running man must have been the criminal, and Michael, the black man who walked by later, must be the one. Her indifference did the rest, cementing the narrative of criminality in her memory. A neighbor, a young woman named Sarah, who had worked alongside me at the community kitchen, managed to get a brief, frantic interview with Mrs. Hadley, desperate to clear my name. "Mrs. Hadley, Michael is a good man. He was at work. His boss confirmed it. Are you absolutely certain the man who dropped the locket was him? Can you please just think back about the backpack?" Sarah pleaded, holding out a crumpled photograph of me smiling, my eyes wide and kind. Mrs. Hadley didn't even glance at the photo, her face a mask of impenetrable calm and cold self-righteousness. "Young woman, I told the police exactly what I saw. I don't need to be interrogated by some social worker or told who is good. That young man was there, running, looking suspicious. That's enough for me. The police handled it." She didn't care about my job, my aspirations for culinary school, my character, or the devastation awaiting my family. In her mind, the sequence of events she had observed had culminated in a neat, acceptable conclusion. A crime committed, a black man accused. Her apathy was not active malice. It was a passive, systemic cruelty, an unwillingness to expend the slightest mental or emotional energy to correct a dangerous error that affirmed her preconceived worldview. She held the silver key, the truth about the gray hoodie, the backpack, and the fact that I had been walking, not fleeing, but she was content to let it rust in her silence. I went to trial. The jury, faced with the reputable witness, the proximity, and the damning physical evidence of the locket found near the witness's house, and lacking any compelling counter-evidence, took less than 3 hours to deliberate. When the foreman read the verdict, guilty, the sound didn't echo. It simply sucked all the oxygen out of my chest. I gripped the defense table, the world tilting. I wasn't just losing my freedom. I was losing the dignity of my truth to a lie built on comfortable prejudice. The injustice was a crushing physical weight. As I was led away by the bailiff, I searched the gallery. Mrs. Hadley was already gone, having fulfilled her civic duty. She was back on her porch swing, pruning shears in hand, observing the quiet, orderly street, perfectly content in the knowledge that she had done her part to keep her neighborhood clean. Her conscience was clear, the truth about the silver locket locked away in a heart as cold and hard as the metal itself.